Do I need the microphone? Yes. Because we have lots of people here. Please move a little bit closer to the front row because there are not so many of us. I do not bite and it will be easier for me to interact with you. Come on, move to the front rows. Okay, we'll be looking at a very important part of every game design process. This is monetization. And I'll be talking on a small part, how to increase the ARPPU in the game. Let me introduce myself. I'm Ksenia. I'm responsible for monetization in Fotostrana. I am interested who is working as a product manager or is responsible for the money here. Please raise your hands. Okay. Who knows what is ARPPU? Please raise your hands. Please move a little bit closer here. Who knows to increase ARPPU? Great. So you will be correcting me if I say something wrong. All right. Let's move on. Fotostrana is not so very well known, but we are quite big at this CIS market, 3 million MAU, women and men over 35, and why I'm talking about games here, although we are a social entertainment network, because we release our own casual games for our own audience. What games I'll be talking today, or cases from what games I'll be showing today. We have clicker games. We have the farms, and we have match 3 games, and match 3 plus meta games. Meta games is a city building game. Based on that, I will be talking, showing you some cases, how we earn more money from all those games. Why do you need to increase our ARPPU? Well, to earn more, that's true. In general, maybe you looked at the financial reports of the companies. The world is very cruel. The money gets turned over. Here's your company. Here are the players who play your games. They pay you in their game, and you pay to attract them for advertisements. And the more they pay you, the more you will pay to increase your audience. This is a kind of a circle of money in the nature. And we'll be looking today into how we can increase the money players pay you. Speaking generally, what is our income? This is the ARPPU, active users, multiplied by the average spend of the user. When splitting it up even further, we have this ARPPU, average revenue per paying user. We have a conversion percentage, and the MAU, monthly active users. I won't be going into how you can increase the MAU and the percent of paying users, but rather I'll be talking only about the ARPPU. Speaking simply of what ARPPU consists of, this is average check multiplied by the average number of transactions made by a paying user. That means that to increase our ARPPU, we have to increase the average check and to increase the number of purchases. That's simple. So our first quest is to increase the average check. The easiest way is to increase the value by 100. And you rather receive money multiplied by 100. Who is sure that this will happen? No one. Why? What prevents us from doing so? Unfortunately, we cannot hear anything said in the room without a microphone. Sorry. We have to offer an adequate price, like if coming to a market, to a bazaar, and one seller sells you apples Antonovka for 10 rubles, and another one sells Argentinian apples for 1,000 rubles. Well, you'll be buying Antonovka for 10 rubles a kilo, and this is what the majority does. So what prevents us from doing so, this is the so-called elasticity of the price, of the demand, sorry, according to the price. The higher the price is, the less people will be buying from you. This is true for almost any markets, for the game market in particular. For a monopoly or for some premium products, the elasticity does not work, but we are under conditions of a game market. Okay, here's a problem for you. This is a picture from our farm. In our farm, people can buy lacking or missing resources. Imagine we increase the sales by 20% of those resources. How much money did we receive? Plus 20%, minus 10%, or plus 7%? First option, please raise your hands. No one, okay. Minus 10. Minus 10% revenue. Okay, someone believes that. Plus 7% revenue. Who believes that? That's true, plus 7%. Plus 7%. This was our revenue when we increased the sales by 20. These are not actual data, but this is just stats. These are just stats to exemplify this. So before, after. Before, when it was 100, and it became 120. But the number of purchases dropped by 10%. Let's do the math. If a number of purchases dropped by 15%, then our revenue stayed the same. And if the sales dropped by 20%, we'll be writing red figures with our revenues. And this is a very frequent story which impacts you. This shows that the reality is very cruel and you cannot just increase the prices 100-fold. But not all groups react in price increase in an equal way. Okay, we just split up and good paying users and bad paying users. The less paying users decrease their purchases, but the well-paying users increase their spend. So how do you proceed? We should segment this audience. It's quite clear that increasing the average check for the non-paying users or less paying users does not make sense. But the whales, they are not that much sensitive to price increase, allowing you to increase the prices without dropping the number of purchases. Okay, so the outcome, the takeaway is to segment the audience, so to find people who will pay more.
On the whole, in most games, in casual games, 50% of the money is given by the good payers. There's a reference used, whales. Whales are good payers, and this is the best way to increase your ARPPU when handling those. Just imagine we have 2 million of paying users. Great game. You have 2 million paying users. Some of you are smiling, not believing that it is possible to achieve that. But anyway, here are the following indicators. We have segregated the whales and the others. The other players pay, say, 11 units, currency units, and they make one transactions, and they do not pay anything else. Or if it is easier for you, you can make 1.5. But in most cases, that's how the things are. People normally, on the average, people do not pay you a lot. If it is one transaction, it's 250 million something. But with the whales, the situation is different. There are 2,000 whales, and versus 2 million, 2,000 is just a few little things. But they can pay 50 coins, and they can make 250 transactions if that's the game, and the users have many other things to pay for, and the game is very dynamic. So it turns out that the whales bring you as much money as the other audience. And if we increase their paycheck, it will be not 50 but 80. It will be 40 millions then altogether. Great things. Your bosses are very happy, and you can rest on the laurels. And that's how the game is used, and it is hope that they are paying in money, not in apples, as we have mentioned. So if we increase the transactions, the number of the transactions, and each of the whales will be having 10 transactions more, and it will be 1 million in surplus. The figures are, you see, different figures. If we are talking about the rest of the paying users, then in order to increase the transactions, make it not one but 2 transactions, you will have to do the testing a lot and to invest a lot of money into the research and into the other things, into the efforts. And this audience is you should be treading carefully about this audience, and it is a long-term process trying to deal with them. In 2013, that is 4 years ago, we have undertaken to segment the market of the users, of the players, and the first step is to break down the spending of the users. And we have taken over the period of 30 days. Axle X is the number of the players, and Y is the total spending. Let us imagine that initially over here we had 1,000 people that brought in $1,000. But over here in the end, we will have 100,000 users, them bringing us $1. And then we have found a small group of users that generate huge revenue for us, and we have described them as a special group. That's what the whales are. If you do not have that kind of segmenting without learning, you can do 3 simple things. You can say that in my game, in my world, there will be a certain amount of whales. Like, let us say it will be, I refer to the I will refer to the highest payers, 1,000 highest payers as whales, and or that you can attribute certain parameters to them, like the highest check, the highest paying per month, or the having the largest number of transactions. So you have distinguished the whales. Why the whales are very important for us? In reality, the whales can buy deer a lot and frequently. And as a product designer, I don't know what your slot in the company is, but you should repeat it. The whales buy deer a lot and frequently. So for them to buy deer, to pay a lot, you should provide them something that they need in their game. So we have defined what the whales are in our game. And the next question, what shall we do about them with the reference to the product? Here is one of the example. There is a basic package for each game. It is some kind of hard or soft currency, bags of money, and you paid for a number of package. And what you can do is to change the sequence of the packages for some of the pairs. Why should you offer like a bag, a box of apples for the whale if the whale is prepared to buy hundreds of kilos of apples? And now we are talking about dynamic pricing, Uber or booking, based on your paying segment and some other parameters, certain prices given to you. And in this case, this is regulated with a certain discount, because you cannot explain why for some customers this particular good or product costs 100 and 1,000 rubles for the other. The only thing you can say that, okay, we can give you an individual discount for a super package, and that's why the price for you is 50 rubles. Of course, here comes such things as ethics, morality, whether it is worth doing that or not. Comments from the floor, but the interpreter doesn't hear them. So, but we won't be talking about ethics today. So, another thing, I was very much surprised that there are not that many games that tune or set such things as bundles. Whose games have got bundles or like bundles of goods or commodities? Do you have them? Over there, they don't have them. Do them. Please apply them, because bundles of goods are good. One of the options for the whales, depending on what they are paying, capacity is, for example, you have whales like super whales. You have just good payers or low payers. Depending on that, you select a package, a bundle of goods for them and the price. And we can regulate the price by adjusting the content. And for example, it won't be difficult why this particular commodity costs 10 rubles and 50 rubles for you. But you can explain, well, because they have a certain number of the goods, and yours number is different. So it's a simple approach to adapt the current bundles, the current packages for the paying content. And so bundling is one of the approaches. Or logical things. It is offering premium commodity, premium good for the whales. And the whales are happy to pay for some unique commodities, for unique goods that no one else has, because those are the people that are ready to pay, that can pay, and there are a number of incentives for them. It is to boast of something. They want to dominate and to boast. Boasting is dominating, and in many cases in the cities, the whole story is based on the unique objects for the whales to upgrade certain object into the super mega object. The user is prepared to pay a lot of money, because the user, the player, will have something special, like remarkable, outstanding aqua park, and so they will be boasting with it. Another standard story, if it is some unique decoration, unique goods, commodities, and they have a different check because of them being unique and showing off. It makes other people think, oh, it makes the whale think that the others are thinking that he or she is cool. So bundling, then adjusting unique packages. What next? You understand, then you remember that we need to increase the amount of the spending. How could we increase the spending? One of the things is your balance in the game. It is the major thing. You can talk about balance at length. I won't be talking about that, so I will be talking about mechanics, events. So mechanics. What works well with mechanics is different competition mechanics. When two or three or, I don't know, 50 players are competing to get something. So the mechanics are associated with the competition, and they work in such casual games as match 3. And there might be different tops scores, and thus you increase the competition and the amount of spending per one player. And standard story in the league. The first, it is increasing the amount of the active players which are participating in the top. What the leagues are doing, the leagues are positioning the people that have the same level, and so they have a higher desire, and they have a higher desire to buy, to purchase things, rather than when they see that there is a super whale at the top, and the person understands they cannot buy to pay for 100 kilos of apples, but it's only 10 kgs of apples, not 100. Then the players might think that it is possible to play. We have increased the LTs of super whales. We have increased the number of the tops, and the LTs was on the rise. And the leagues, what else are they increasing? You remember the long tail of those players that just pay a penny to you, and the ARPPU is increasing as well, because you should pay not for 100 kilos, but for 10 kilos of apple, allegedly. Where is the money then? Here is a virtual graph, and the money comes in. The major peaks are when they're summing up. For example, there might be, you can nominate one day the timeline of the top, and if the competition is high, the matching of the players versus one another is good, and that's when you can have a peak of the earnings. The tops and leagues help you to earn at the peaks. So another thing is quests and events. Pretty straightforward. But events can provide incentives not only for spending per hour, but they can increase lifetime of the super paying audience. Just imagine something, not a game that has just been released, but the game that had been in existence at the market for some 2 years. And mostly there are all the users that have passed all the levels, and that is the paying core, but they have processed all your content, and it's not interesting for them to play. And there are newcomers who are still maintain the interest to your game, and those newcomers can increase the lifetime of those users. Events can provide incentives. It could be times 2 or times 3 times 10 for your revenue. promotional campaigns. Promotional campaigns provide incentives to buy now. And because the standard story of just 10 apples are provided, but if it is 10 apples for 10 rubles, within 3 minutes, like the incentive is I don't need apples, but the price is so low and the time is limited, okay, let me buy it. And both offline and online, the peak during the promo campaign is at the end, because some of the users who are yet pondering, thinking whether we need to buy or not, they're just rushing to get to the store to buy something that is offered within the framework of the promo campaign. So summing up, so what have we discussed? Actually, two things: how to increase the check and how to increase the spending. How to increase the check. We should segregate the audience that is willing to pay a lot. What should we do? We should segment the selection of the basic packages applied to the paying groups. We segment all the bundles, all the promotional campaigns, and we can segment them applicable to the paying groups. And we can offer large like bundles to the whales, large bundles for large money, increasing spending. What should we do to increase spending? It is set up the mechanics to monetize their standard. You can invent, design your own, or you can combine those. But on the whole, they are pretty straightforward and standard at the market. You should make the mechanics that are not applied to the content, and that's how the things are in the casual games. If it is a quest providing unique decoration, you got into the loop because you will have to continuously develop contact levels and what it is necessary to make mechanics that's working all by itself. Launching events is nice to increase spending, but you should tread carefully with the events because if there are no events, then the payers will not pay. So you should tread carefully with the events. And another thing is discounts, promo campaigns, and the other things. That's about it. Thank you. Join us. I'll be happy to answer the questions. Thanks, Ksenia. Your questions, please, if you have any. Thanks for the interesting talk. Thanks for coming. So the question, in your perspective, is it a good indicator where most of the revenue is based on the whales? It's a standard thing. But doesn't it make the demand volatile? You cannot make any projections. When most of the incoming revenue depends on the whales, it's very good for the company, but on the other hand, it's very bad because it is not stable indeed. And if you have some whales leaving, it will be bad for the games. But on the other hand, you have them, and you should be overjoyed. You should be happy that your game is construed in such a way that you have the whales and you can handle them, and you could just increase the ARPPU of the whales. Good afternoon. Thanks for the talk. I have a couple of questions recently. In fact, I'm just starting to work with the monetization of games, and I have a few questions. One, do we need to use the tactic of in-game advertising? Not just put it everywhere, but that's what is done in Temple Run. When you die, you have an option either to continue by watching an advertising or to start from square one. So do you think you can earn through advertising? First question.
First answer, you can. earn with ads. According to the stats, a report was recently published for mobile monetization, and in most of the games, especially in the free-to-play games, the monetization is based on ads, earning from those who actually will never pay 85 to 90% of all the users. The implementation of a monetization in this model. Every monetization should be implemented as a test. You can either shoot yourself into the leg or positive outcome earn a lot of money, ranging from this to that. If you just insert an ad after every level in a match tree, the player gets bored a lot more faster, and the LTV of the user will be reduced greatly. But you can also earn money from that. So you should test every integration. For your game, maybe some other locations might be possible. And the second question is as to the content. The user chooses himself or herself what content to buy. Does it make sense to filter the content in some way, the content you're adding into the game? Or it makes sense to add as much content as possible and make the user choose what he likes, like skins for weapons never influence any game parameters, but the user then chooses what he likes or not. The problem of choice is always there because our brain can handle not very many things at once. 5 plus minus 2, these are the things people can direct their attention at the same time, and it works. If you add 100 units of content, it will most probably reduce the conversion into the purchase because the user will be confused and you won't be able to focus him or her into what he needs to buy. Like he must buy the most expensive thing you're offering. The ideal system is the shopkeeper tells you these are the best shoes. You try them on, they match, they suit you well, and you buy them. Any choice is a real butt hurt. Have you ever thought about the super whales personally? What are these people? Are those blondes or the Indians? How do they look like so that we can plan the packs bundles for them accordingly? A very good question indeed. If you have super whales in a game, they have the personal support, most likely. And you'll know them personally, I think. Like you have Maria, who sits somewhere in America, works as a nurse, but loves your game and pays you $7,000. Sometimes we just visit the support and talk with the people. I mean, through support or personally, so that we can understand their motivation and why they are paying us so much. This is a must-have because without this information, you won't be able to analyze it. But maybe are there any insights or LOL facts we can laugh at? Like, what are the most funny stories about the super whales? Very hard to answer. I could answer this question personally, maybe, but not here on stage. Hi. Hello. What if we don't have whales? How do we earn money then? Like zero. Fotostrana, as far as I know, has its whales, but we don't have any. We don't have people who pay $1,000 how do we earn money in this situation? Well, you have to earn from those less paying users. If your company still exists, if your game still exists, so you're earning something. Not thousands of dollars, but like hundreds of dollars. If you don't have whales, maybe you don't have any game mechanics for whales for them to appear, because actually whales appear when you have modeled mechanics for them. So they pay a lot, often, and for a long time. Maybe core mechanics should be redesigned. The second question then. So whales are a must for a game to be self-sustainable? No. So you can earn on other users as well? How? Using ads. Like video ads? Well, depends on what you're doing. Like a shooting. Web, mobile? Mobile. Mobile video ads, yes, it's a standard story. People leave after seeing this ad. They just never visit this game again. This is a question of implementation. You could implement the video ads for if you want this super gun, super weapon, watch this ad. They do not watch ads. The gun is really great, but they don't watch videos then. Maybe you should test something else, some additional stories and so on. The question was in the direction: do we really need whales, or you can do without them? You can do without them if your game is currently okay. Your business should be economically sustainable, with whales or without whales. With whales, it is easier to just increase the ARPPU, but you can also work with a second purchase conversion, with the activation of users, increase of paying users as well, a lighter ad integration to monetize non-paying users. So other tools might work for you as well. Thank you. I hope I have answered your question. How good is a mechanic when the players are joined into groups and the clans are whales? The clans consist of whales and non-paying users. How good is it when whales pay for the clan members? But it's great if they pay. Don't we lose that the people in the clan do not pay just because the clan whale pays for them? But well, the whale pays for everyone. Just the drinks are on me, says he, walking into the hall. The clan mechanics increase the LD of the users, and they also can increase the LTV of the whales. Hypothetically, the story is possible that the whale pays for everyone and others do not pay just because of that. But normally it's the whale that pays more, twice as more than the user, so it's not a problem. Okay, after clans we have a lot more questions suddenly. Hello. My question is, like, whales in your game, starting from which monthly spend is a whale? It's an NDA information, sorry. I mean, in money. I understand your question, but it is an NDA information. And if the life cycle is a month, what was the maximum spend of a whale, of a single whale? This is the same if I ask you how much do you earn. I won't be able to answer a question. I won't be able to answer a question as well. Just general information. This is not like an average from until. I'm not asking about exact figures, you know. A question to you, if you permit. What is the average check in Wales in your company? The thing is, I don't work in this field. I'm a developer, not a manager, so I'm not aware of this information. I would be glad to tell you, but I don't think so. Okay, let me answer in apples. A normal user pays one apple, and a super whale can pay thousands of apples. So you see the multiplier, or even more. A top one super whale and an average ARPPU, the difference can be even more. But this largely depends on the game, on the mechanics to implement, and on what the game earns. Like the guys here with the shooters say, they don't have any whales. Counter-Strike has that. Good evening, thank you very much for the talk. The unique content you were describing, like the water amusement parks, why is it unique? Because the price is too high for everyone to afford, or you're just having a promotion that this very object will be sold for 10 days only and no one else will be able to buy it after then. Both ways. We tested out both ways, and you could make some product unique by limiting the number of purchases. Like only 1,000 people can buy this goodie, or you can auction this goodie off the market. So we try the auction model with a limited number of articles, and in our farm this didn't quite work well, but this is our personal experience. I know other projects where auctions worked really well. Thank you very much for the interesting talk. I have a question coming back to the ethics and the segmentation of the audience. Without the specifics, when we segment the users and we show them different prices and rip them off, but you have a social network where people communicate. There's a core of people, like 1 million of active users, who communicate on the social network and see this segmentation. And if we can earn a lot of money. But did you have the situation where people just strike because they see, they notice this segmentation and they start being angry about this? Yes, a very good question. We had a situation like this. We had a situation when the users asked me, why do you have this promotion and I do not have it? I want this promotion. How did we solve this issue? Depending on the number of people getting angry. If all the whales tell us, stop ripping us off, not to lose this audience, you will be rolling these changes back. But it is crucially important that they do not have same products at a different price. You can propose them different bundles consisting of different products. Unfortunately, the speaker currently does not use the microphone. In our case, yes, some of the games are casual, And well, it's urban planning, urban building game. This is kind of a decor. This does not influence anything in the game other than the visual thing. How did we get out of this situation? That was a question. One of the cool stories relieving this butthurt in the users. You can say that this user had this individual discount granted to him. You will be able to benefit this from it as well at some point. And if you have bundles, products bundled, it is harder to compare the costs of a single product. So the probability he starts striking is less, like 500 apples and 500 pears. This is harder to compare because he just you need to make this math even more complicated for them so that the comparison is harder. Why should we actually make universal offerings for the whales if we can make an offering for everyone affordable only to the whales? Like we had 5 bundles and we suddenly add a 6th bundle which is more affordable than which the individual cost of the product is less than in the 5th bundle, but it's only affordable to the whales because no one else can pay 500 rubles, 5,000 rubles at once. The bundles are a kind of an extra load for the users. You could have a window with all the offers, and if you include too many offers into the window, people very soon will stop looking at this window altogether because they can find nothing for them in it. And you will be decreasing the ARPPU of the less paying users then. Okay, another question then. If we tell a user straightforward not to clutter our store, we are showing you only the products you can afford. If you start spending more, then you'll get another product in our shop, because the smaller packs will interest you then. Why don't we tell him that straightforward? Well, this is the segmentation according to the spend. Because you are shown the bundles, you are more likely to buy. So the interface changes and the order changes of what is shown to you. All right. That will be the last question. Every mechanics we discussed here, methods of monetization, were aimed at either increasing the frequency of transactions or the amount of transaction. This influences the speed of the content consumption in the game and influences the life cycle. Which of the mechanics are less dangerous for the lifetime and which are more dangerous? Clans are the least dangerous mechanics because the users start interacting. Well, in tanks, you have the story. The main point is to include you on a clan because even if you don't want to go on a raid, your pals will call you and say, come on, man, you need to go on a raid. This is the first story. The second least dangerous story are the leaks. It's a lightweight situation. The user is never rushed. This is not a marathon for them. These are comfortable conditions. He is in the lower league. He is okay with that as well. Tops are aggressive. It's a more aggressive story. At the moment you can receive a lot more, but you can have two whales against each other. And they bought you like 2 Maybachs or 1 Maybach, but then left the game. Especially the competition mechanics, these are all psychology. That I want to be the best, I want to be the first. And people who already are the first, so someone is the second, and he has brought you the same amount of money. Quests are also relatively safe, but here the balance is what matters, and the paid actions. If this is a paywall in front of a quest, then the user has this quest which he never ever will try to. After 20 or 10 times, you won't be getting over it if there is a paywall. So the number of players who will pay actually won't change significantly. People, what are the most dangerous things for LTV? Well, tops, gambling, maybe. Well, incorrectly built quests. If you are disbalanced the quest, users can get confronted with a paywall and won't get any further. Quests and tops are the most important, most dangerous things. Sorry. Thank you very much, guys.